If we want to maintain biodiversity, that means we need to conserve organisms. We need to protect organisms in the ecosystem. That means we need to prevent organisms from being endangered and from going extinct. That is what conservation is. Okay, so biodiversity needs to be protected and conserved. Conservation helps, one, to maintain the future possibility that plant species might be identified for medicines. Most of the medicines we use come from plants. Okay, now if the species of plants go extinct, that will mean that those plants cannot be of use in future because all those plants have gone extinct. Okay, so if we maintain biodiversity, that means we are going to protect all species, and therefore certain plant species could be studied and then used for medicine purposes. 2, if we conserve the biodiversity, it minimizes damage to food chains and food webs. Now, food chain is just a feeding relationship between organisms. It starts with a plant, and then the first organism that eats the plant is the primary consumer. They are mostly herbivores. Then we have our secondary consumer feeding on the primary consumer. And then it goes on and on and on. We have a tertiary consumer feeding on the secondary consumer. Okay. Now, if all the primary consumers die off, the secondary consumer may not be able to feed on plants directly. And therefore, it could lead to a gap in the food chain. This will result in these organisms also dying off, eventually causing the tertiary consumers to also die. So conservation is important to minimize damages to food chains and food webs. Thirdly, it is to protect our future food supply. Protect our future food supply. If the plants die off, there will be no food in future. If the animals die off, there will be no food for organisms that feed on the animal in future. So conservation is very, very important.